Okay, so I'm going to cover the Unity example demos that I haven't been able to go through during the class. And this, I'm just going to cover briefly what Firebase Storage is again so that everybody understands this. And because I wasn't also able to demo the credit card and all that sign up part that was shown only in one of the classes that I had in the morning. So anyway, just a brief introduction about Firebase Storage. Firebase Storage, as its name implies, is for you to store files. So what we call files are generally described as a binary large object or blobs, BLOBS, and the kind of content that you usually store in Firebase Storage would be things like images, videos, or even audio. And images would be, for example, things like profile pictures or textures for your models, or even a signboard, like for example if you're doing advertising and you want to change the ads on a signboard in your game, you can do that through loading images on Firebase Storage. Okay, so to set up Firebase Storage, I have a new project here that I set up just to demo this. You have to come to the left side here and just click on Storage, and you'll be asked to set it up. So you first have to upgrade your project to a paid project. And this is the unfortunate part about this. So many of you won't be able to try this, but at least you see how this works. Okay, and so you have storage here, and then you have to go and add a payment. Because I already have a Google billing account and I don't have to set up that part again. That's where you enter your address and your credit card numbers. Okay, here all I have to do is say what the budget is. I'm going to put $1 so I don't blow my budget. And then I'll just say link to my cloud billing account. So after you have your credit card all put in, you come to this screen and link your billing account on Google. Okay, just in case you don't know, Firebase is owned by Google. That's why you have a Google billing account. So now I have kind of upgraded my plan to a paid plan. I can go to storage here and say get started. And the first thing you want to do is to pick a no-cost location. So US Central 1, US East 1, US West 1, all the US locations are no cost. Now, just in case you're wondering, if you're doing a real project, a real commercial project, and you want it to be here in Singapore, you choose Asia Southeast 1. Okay, Southeast 1. That is Singapore. Now, if you want to know what all these regions are, these are actually Google Cloud regions. So if you go to Google and type Google Cloud regions, you'll be able to see what Asia Southeast 1 is and what Asia Southeast 2 is, so on and so forth. Okay, so for the cost for this, we'll choose the no cost location and we'll continue. And we'll start in test mode. This is important. So starting in test mode sets the rule to allow read and write before a certain date and time. So you want to go and adjust your rules to the end of the semester. Now definitely don't make this like 2099 or something, because it is very risky. Anybody with a key to your Firebase account would be able to read and write to your storage and most likely misuse it. Store illegal content on your Firebase Storage. So please make sure this is set to a reasonable date, usually the end of the term, and click create. Okay, so once you have all set up, okay, if you want to edit your rules, you have to come to this rules tab to change it. Now what you can do is start uploading files here using this user interface. So I can upload a file here if I want it. I can say Dilbert, and I upload Dilbert, and I have Dilbert here, and then now I can click on Dilbert and I can see the picture. Okay, and here's a link to the picture. You can click on this link. Now you will see the link in your address bar here. All you can do is copy this link and give it to your friend, and they'll be able to see the same picture as you do. Okay, and it's an important part about this link. You can see this token up here. This is an access token. So anybody with this access token will have access to view this picture, and that is important, because if your rules don't allow anybody to read your bucket, this is called a bucket, right? You'll need to have this token. Okay, so I can take the token away if I have this open up to the public like this. Now you can see for mine is permission denied because my rules were set up to not allow public read and write. Okay, so anyway, back to my bucket. Now, what is a bucket? You can think of a bucket like C drive, maybe. It's like a drive on your computer. So in your bucket, you can have folders and you can have files. It's up to you how to want to organize files in your bucket. You can also create additional buckets if I'm not wrong. But usually you'll have one bucket and you organize the files in there using folders. You can create folders this way. You can create folders, say images, okay, and then you put images inside the images folder. Okay, so that's a quick introduction about what Firebase Storage is. We're going to move on to how we use Firebase Storage in Unity. Now the first thing you need to do is when you add storage, there's a small change, right? You have to go to project settings here and download the new Google Services JSON. And in the new Google Services JSON, you will see a line that adds the storage bucket that you just created to that file. Okay, so if you don't download a new Google Services JSON, you will not be able to access your storage bucket in Unity. So just download a new file and add it to your Unity, and I'll show you how to do that in a bit. Okay, so let's go to Unity. I have my old project open here, and the first thing you need to do is, like I said, import that Google Services JSON. How you do that is to go to Assets. You see this original one, hit delete, right? Delete it, and then go to your Explorer or your Finder, grab the latest Google Services JSON and drag it in, and I've uploaded it back. And you can see here there is a storage bucket. Now this is what you need to use storage. The next thing you need to do is to go to Assets, Import Package, and import the Firebase Storage package, which is down here. Firebase Storage, hit Open, and click Import. Now I've already imported mine, so I won't click it again, but you just hit Import and it should import. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to show you how to use Firebase Storage. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hide this panel that I've been using for the login screen. I'm going to create a new panel here, UI panel, and with the new panel, I'm going to add what we call a raw image. Okay, so here's a raw image, and I'm going to load that Dilbert picture into the raw image. So how do we load that Dilbert picture to a raw image in Unity? It's actually quite simple. All we do is create a texture, and we assign the texture to the raw image material. And be like, what is this guy talking about? Okay, let's do this. Very simply, in the raw image, so in this game object, this is a game object that has a raw image in there. I'm going to add one more component. I'm going to add a image manager. Okay, let's create a new script. And let's open our script, double click. Okay, I'm just going to delete all this update stuff. I don't need it. And in start, I'm just going to say load image. Okay, and so I need to write a new method called load image. I'll say void load image. And how I'm going to load image, first thing first, I need to import my Firebase Storage using Firebase Storage, and I'll leave it there first. Now I need a new texture, so I'm going to say var texture equal new texture 2D, right? And you see there's a red squiggly line. It's complaining that it does not take 0 arguments. So the minimum is to have a width and a height, and I'll just say it's 1 by 1. I'll leave that alone for now. Okay, and so this is important because later on we will get the raw image. So we will just get var image equals to get component in children raw image, like this. This gets the image, the raw image component in this game object. So remember, this is a game object here, right? This raw image is a game object which has multiple things, including the raw image and the script I just put in there. So the script is in the same game object as the raw image. That's why I'm able to get the component raw image using this line of code. Now you could do it the other way. You can do it the old way where you say serialize field and you say raw image, and you could come here and the script would have a little image field here, and you would drag the raw image inside. That's the other way, but this is the programmatic way of doing it. Okay, so I'm just going to do it the programmatic way. I have the image here, and all I'm going to do is just say image.texture equals to texture. That's it. I'm assigning this texture to here, but I haven't done anything to this texture yet. So I'm going to have to load an image into it. Okay, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use my Firebase, and this is how it works. Now Firebase Storage, okay, as with the Firebase database, we have this thing called default instance. And right here, we can just immediately use this thing called get reference. And I have my dilbert.jpg that I uploaded. So that's the file I want to load. And I'm going to just say dot and get bytes async. So I'm going to download the bytes of the file. And the first thing that, okay, let me just break this down first so it's easier to read, okay? Now, when you use get bytes async, it expects a input parameter, and the parameter is max download size, and that means like this is the maximum file size I'll download. And I think a reasonable file size is maybe 5 megabytes. Like, you know, images shouldn't be more than that, or it's a little bit too big. So I'll say how to get 5 megabytes is 1024 times 1024, okay, times 5. That's 5 megabytes. So kilo mega 5 megabytes, and then you have continue with on main thread. This is your regular async thing. You say task, okay, and you have the async code inside here. So this will download the file, and the results of the download will be inside there. So let me just move all this code in here and I save it first. And how do we get the data from the file? You just say byte is a byte array, okay, bytes, or say data equals to task.result. So all you have in task result is the data of the file you downloaded. Now, of course, just like all other thing that we have done for database and for auth, we have to do some error checking. So you can say if task is faulted or task is cancelled, right? We're going to handle the error, and we're going to say debug log task.exception and return. So this is just error handling. And now we have the data, and we need to turn the data into an image. How do you do that? You just say texture load image, and you put the bytes inside data. Okay, so you basically put the data into load image, and then once it's loaded, okay, let's have some fun here. We're gonna say debug log, okay, and we're just gonna print some message out here. How do we know what we loaded? Let's try this. We're gonna say loaded, okay, data.length. That's the number of bytes from Firebase image size, okay, texture.width by texture.height. So this message here will print out loaded the number of bytes, right, from Firebase with the image size, width times height, okay? And so remember, we created a texture one by one, but the moment we loaded the image, and if the image was valid and it was able to load in as a texture, it would then have the actual size of the image, which should be you know, the size of the Dilbert picture that I just uploaded. And then this loaded image now gets assigned to the texture of your raw image. Okay, so just this alone would load your image as a texture and show it in your Unity game. So let's try it. Let's go to Unity. There you go, Dilbert's loaded. Now what you realize is that my Dilbert is a little bit off proportions, and that is a problem, and you kind of have to resize the raw image component to make it the right shape and size. So usually if you're using a texture in a 3D game, you have to define the actual dimensions of the texture so you can use it properly. Okay, so now we have the texture going. I'm going to try something new. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to use your web camera in Unity. Okay, and for that I'm going to just comment out load image so that I don't run load image on start. So instead of load image, I want to start the webcam. Okay, so I'm going to have start webcam, and I'm going to start webcam here, turn into a little function. And how you start a webcam in Unity is to use a built-in function that Unity provides to access the webcam on the device. So on your laptop, you will use the webcam on your laptop, but on your mobile device, you will also use the cameras on your phone or whatever. So if you build a game for a mobile device, this would activate the phone camera. And as part of that, it would actually do the same thing on your phone. When you first launch a game that needs your camera, it will actually prompt you for permissions. So you have to ask for permissions. Okay, and how you do that is to do this. I'm not going to type it out. There's a lot of code for me to memorize. So you're going to have to use this thing called webcam texture. Now, webcam texture is part of Unity engine. You can just use it directly. So webcam texture.devices gives you all the devices, all the webcams that are available. Okay, so you can actually loop the number of devices here. Actually, I'll just do this, okay, without having to declare a new variable, right? We'll just loop the devices here and just print them out just to see what devices I have on my computer. Okay, so here is just printing out all the devices I see, and you'll see my computer has more than one camera. And after that, this is where I ask for permission. I'll keep looping until I have authorization. So while we don't have authorization for webcam, right, I'm gonna say, you know, no webcam access granted, please grant permissions, and then it will then request user authorization. And you see here there's a yield return. So when you see a yield, it means that this is a coroutine. I have to turn this into a coroutine. Okay, and why a coroutine? Because then I can keep trying to get authorization, and until I have authorization, I can continue to start running the webcam. So instead of start webcam here, I have to say start coroutine and start webcam. Okay, so I will start the coroutine, and it will keep attempting to get permissions until it has permission, and then once I have permission, then I can get the webcam to run. And the next thing I need to do is to get the texture from the webcam. So webcam texture, I'm just gonna say var first. I'm gonna create a texture called webcam texture out of the device, the first device I have on my computer. Okay, so this is the first device, right? If I have 3 devices, this will be the third device. Okay, so 0, 1, and 2. So I'll get the first device, create a texture out of it. Then I want to start playing, right, running the webcam. This activates the webcam. And once my webcam is activated, all I have to do is, similar to here, how I got the component, the raw image component, I'm getting the same raw image component. Okay, I'll just say raw image. I'll just say image here. It's easier. Okay, and I'll assign the texture to the image. And that's it. Just doing this alone, I should have a working webcam. All right, let's go to my game here and run. There you go, you see me in the webcam. All right, so that's very good. I have myself showing up in the webcam now. Now you realize that, like I said, it's out of shape. So the right thing to do is to make it the right size. So I'll change this to 160 by 120, and this would give it the right ratio for my webcam. Hopefully, there you go. 3:2 ratio is the usual ratio for most webcams. Some of you have HD webcams, so it's 16:9. Okay, so we might have to even stretch this a little bit more. Back to my code. Now, if I want to take a picture from the webcam, how do I do that? So I'm going to say void, and this time I make it public because I need to link it to a button, right? Void take picture, take photo. Okay, how you want to call it? Take photo, take picture. Now, how you use take picture is you're going to use the webcam texture that we created here, and we're just going to copy the pixels from the webcam texture. Okay, because unfortunately this texture from the image, okay, let me just put this here, you can see it, doesn't have the ability to copy pixels. Doesn't exist. Okay, so it only exists in webcam texture. And so what we have to do is then get the webcam texture here out so that I can use it later. So I'm going to say webcam texture like this, right? I'm going to create a class variable private. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and delete this. Okay, so I have my webcam texture, and here I'm just going to say var texture equal new texture 2D. And this time, instead of making a 1:1 texture 2D, I'm going to make it the webcam texture's width and the webcam texture's height. Okay, and then I will say texture.set pixels, and I'll get the pixels from the webcam texture and set it to my texture 2D. And then in texture 2D, there's a magic method called encode to, and there's a few of them. I'm going to use encode to JPEG because JPEG is a more efficient format for images, okay, for pictures. PNG is very sharp, but the files are huge, so I'm going to use JPEG. And this, what does it give me? If you hover over it, it gives me a byte array. So I'm going to say var data equals to this, or of course, to make it clear, I can say byte array data. So I have my byte array data, and now I have to upload it to Firebase. How do I do that? I just say Firebase Storage, okay, dot default instance dot get reference, and this is where I want to store it. Say I want to store it in images. If I want to store it in a folder, right, called images, I can use this syntax, okay? And so I'm going to store it in images / capture. I'm just going to split it out so you can read it easily. And of course, my AI actually did it for me here. You say put bytes async, okay? And in puts bytes, there's two things you need to put in here. First, you need the data, and you need something else. But let's just do data first. And we say continue with a main thread. This is the regular async thing, task, okay? So once you have task, what you're gonna do is the same, all error checking. So I'm not gonna type it all out. I'm just gonna copy this, okay? And this time, it's not task result. And this time I'll just say debug.log successfully uploaded capture to Firebase Storage. Okay, that's it. So I'm gonna link a button to take picture. I've written the code, but I haven't linked the button up, right? So just to recap this code, we have a texture that we created out of the size of the webcam texture, and we got the pixels from the webcam texture and set it to the texture, the new texture we created, the new empty texture, right? And then we encoded the texture to JPEG and got the bytes of data out of it. And then we'll take this data and upload it to Firebase Storage. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm going to go to my Unity now and fix up what I'm missing here. Let's add a button. UI. Okay, put it down here. And of course, I'm going to change the text and say take picture. Fine. And then on click, right? Oh, it's down here. On click, I want to click. And remember, my script is in my raw image. So I'm going to drag raw image in here. And in here, I have image manager. And here's take picture. All right. So when I click the button, it will call take picture. So let's try it. Let's watch the console. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you this. Like, we found 3 cameras. So we have my FaceTime HD camera, which is the one you see right here, the OBS camera, which is not in use, and my iPhone 15 camera, which is on the Mac. That's this continuity camera that it links to your phone. So that's why they see 3 cameras. Now I have take picture, and I'm gonna click on take picture. Okay. So let's smile, take picture, and off. Now you see here it takes a few seconds, but then you see successfully uploaded capture to Firebase Storage. Now let's check out Firebase Storage. Now let's go to images, and you see I have capture.jpg, but when I click on it, I cannot see the photo. And if I click on this, it actually wants me to download the file. Okay, and of course if I download the file, it will work. So let me download it and just check it out here. And you look at capture JPEG. That is the picture I just took, but why is it not showing up here? The reason why it's not showing up here is because the type here is wrong. And to fix that, all you have to do is to go back to your code and add one more line here. And if you look at the second parameter and put bytes async, okay, this is the second parameter is actually metadata change. Okay, so we need to add this metadata. So I'm gonna say var metadata equal new metadata change. Okay. And I'll say metadata dot content type equals to image / JPEG. That is the image data type, right, that we need to include into the upload. So I'm going to put the metadata here, and that's it. Just by adding this one more line of code here, we'll be able to have a JPEG image show actually on a browser. So let's try that now. I'll go back to my game. So this time I'm just going to give it a thumbs up and take a picture, and successfully loaded capture to Firebase Storage. Okay, now let's check out Firebase Storage. This time I'm going to hit refresh, and you can see the type has changed. And now when I click on it, the picture shows up in my Firebase, and if I click on this link, it actually loads directly in the browser. Okay, so I have completed what I wanted to show you. This is how we do uploads to Firebase Storage and downloads from Firebase Storage in Unity.